Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome to another Zombicide Black Plague Green Horde White Death expansion. This is for the CMON Comic Book Extras Volume 2. So we have the comic book and we have the box. So I'm not going to go too much into the comic book stuff, but just a heads up for anyone watching, just by going through the box, the actual miniatures, and looking over all the different stuff in there, there's potential spoilers for the storyline. So if you're someone that is waiting for your copy, or you know you're going to pick this up shortly, and you want to read the comic book and not have any spoilers, go read the comic book first, then maybe come back and watch the video. But you'll probably already have the box set, but maybe just don't look at the box. So I just want to give a heads up, just so I don't spoil something for someone by accident. The book is Road to Hell. It is book number 1 for the Black Plague Road to Hell. So I don't know if it's just a second thing, but yeah, we have a bunch of new characters. So I did get this though. Just take a quick look in here. I just like to look at the artwork quick. You can kind of see some of the artwork looks. Now, heads up, this might also be very graphic, because they're fighting zombies and stuff. Trying to see if I can make sure I don't get any spoilers. I haven't seen any zombies getting killed yet, which is very interesting. So necromancers, yeah, there's some big old fireball. It's a cool splash page there. Information on the back with some of the characters. That's pretty cool. Nice. So we don't want to get into too much there. Now, when I did get this compared to the modern Zombicide had tiles, and I'm like, oh, I'd love more tiles. This comes with a lot more characters. But it also comes with something else. It's 2 extra things in here, which is really cool. One was known at the time of ordering, one got added later on. I don't want to look at the back yet either. There's more spoilers on there. So the 2 things that are added is, besides the Black Plague So On Fantasy cards IDs we're getting, all of them are, and this was an added feature, all are reversible, and they have an additional stat to be played with White Death, which is the third big expansion or group for the Black Plague series. And then we also have some cards for the villains, the zombies, the necromancers, abominations, for summoning, and work with that as well. But that's really cool. So they can all be integrated directly into White Death, because all the things have an extra ability to work with the guard characters. And I'll go into that more when we look at the cards. But that's really cool that they can all just now seamlessly interact. So that way, someone just bought this, maybe White Death is going to be their first Zombicide, because it's the newest one out, easiest one to find. They can use all these characters right away with that, with all the extra little features, which is cool. Of course, then the second thing got added in is the Massive Darkness 2 stuff. So cards for all those guys, which is really cool. And again, if you got White Death, if you picked up the Kickstarter stuff, there's also a pack there to use some of that. So if you love Massive Darkness 2, now you get all these extra new characters added in there. So that's really fun. But we didn't get a... we did not get a map tile, but we did get a new quest in here. So the comic book quest, Source of the Dead. And once again, just a quick thing, this might have spoilers for the story and this stuff, and this is the last time I'm going to say spoilers, just because it's going to be dependent on who you actually use. So this is interesting though. Must be played with Nelly, Jaka, Otto, Freya, Leeming, and one other survivor. Now, Nelly is not part of this set. She's part of the core set for Black Plague. So that is the only thing that's interesting here, because it says you specifically are supposed to use that character. I don't know if they're just designed around those ones, but all the other ones are part of this. You might have to swap Nelly out if you bought, maybe if you're starting with, I'd say if you're starting with Green Horde or White Death, but the problem is the map tiles, 1 through 9, are all Black Plague. So if you don't have Black Plague, and you picked up one of the other 2 base games, you won't be able to do this actual mission. That's the only downside. So we have some interesting stuff there. And then if we look at the back side, you just see the map set up there. Cool. That's what we got there. I'm not going to get into too much. Just doesn't look like it gets too much into the story of the comic, although I haven't read the comic, so I can't say for sure. All right, let's go ahead and hop in and look at some of our characters. Now, I think we're going to look at both sides right away so we can kind of just see what they look like. But here we're going to start with Draka. So let's go ahead and take a look at his miniature. I'm going to slide that over and we'll get a little zoomy up in here. We can focus. There we go. So we got, looks like a possible, some sort of dwarven character. Oh, that's a neat looking axe with like the almost Omega symbol attached to it. I love the little details on the axe as well. Let's try and see if we can focus in on them. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Studded belts and everything with little braided hair. Alright, so here we have Draka. So their symbol for this set is going to be the little rat on the side. Alright, so he may hold an axe as an offhand. He has in blue. And we'll go over all the abilities. I do have the little booklet here so I can reread any ones I don't remember exactly. So we have +1 die for melee. Makes sense, he's going to do extra melee. In orange, yellow is always 1 free action. In orange, let me see if I can get this glare off there for you. 1 free melee action, or tough. Tough, of course, means that he avoids the first point of damage he would take every round. So basically, gets him like instant armor. In rag, we have +1 damage for melee. Battle Rage and Boring Leader. In Boring Leader lets you, during your survivor's turn, you can give 1 free action token to another survivor. They must use it on their turn or it is lost. So this does different from Modern Zombicide. Modern, you just give them an action immediately. In Fantasy Black Plague, you give them a token which they use on their turn. So it's kind of interesting. They work a little bit differently. Then the other one we have is Battle Rage, which I don't have listed in my book. Let me check where some of these maybe ended up getting added. Battle Rage, here we go, as I grabbed the other books just in case. Survivor gains an extra die roll for subsequent melee action whenever they kill at least 1 zombie in action. These bonuses cumulative if the survivor kills it. The bonus is cumulative if the survivor gets at least 1 zombie kill in subsequent melee action and is applied till the end of the turn. Or end of the activation. Okay, so it's basically like escalation. So as long as they kill at least 1 zombie each turn, they gain an extra die. The difference with escalation and modern is as long as you perform the action, you get the ability. Here you actually have to take someone out. But hopefully you're not taking people out. Yeah, so far this is a very interesting character. It looks kind of cool. He has lots of melee. He's going to be your melee guy. Starts off with extra die. You can give him an extra action. You can give him more damage. Definitely go that route. Or if you want to switch up the other way, make him a little bit more of a defender character. And that Boring Leader at the end is kind of nice, because maybe if you just need at the end to throw in some extra, helping out somebody else. Okay, I'm fine over here, I can handle everything. But let me give out some of the other things to help the other guys. Cool. I'm going to flip them over. We're going to look at his other side. So now it has a castle on there. This is for the White Death. Which is the new one. Now, can you play it this side? Yeah, he has all the exact same abilities. I don't think anything changed except now they have an additional blue ability, which activates with the guard. The only thing that does change for some of the characters is they get a different weapon. So he has the Great Axe, and that's probably because the Great Axe shows up in the White Death expansion, or core set versus the regular axe. They just had to make sure you had access to the correct material. So, the guard blue keyword, all characters in White Death are supposed to have this as an additional ability. During your turn, we have these guard characters that act as other survivors that work as basically like NPCs. You get to control them, but what you do, you have to spend one of your actions to give them an ability, which can be move, melee attack, ranged attack. You can activate cauldrons, or they can use some of the abilities on these guys as well. Or you can give them, they're still here, so you can instead activate one of the guards. You can give them +1 die roll for melee for any of the guards. This is just a static effect, so anytime he uses a guard to attack, That guard that's attacking, regardless where they're on the board, gets +1 die roll for melee. So that's kind of cool. It's just a way to like boost up your other guys. And again, everything else stays the same, so I'm not gonna have to worry too much about flipping back and forth here. Cool. Let's look at our next guy. We have Court Dankwart, who holds a great sword. And let's look at his miniature. We got a big armored general, double-handed, probably a bastard sword, I would guess. Interestingly, he's holding it by the end of the hilt. It's a very interesting place to hold a sword. Some big old pouches, some padded or quilted armor, a little dagger there. The halberd hanging down in the front. You know, you played too much games like Warcraft and stuff when you're naming off, you start naming off all the different equipment. The pauldrons. Sorry, he just to hold his great sword. He starts with the sword, which is very nice. In orange, +1 die roll for melee, or search 1 card. So he gets to search for an extra card each time he searches. In red, 1 free combat action. Brother in Arm, +1 to die roll, and Tactician. Tactician is going to let them whenever zombies spawn. Oh, sorry, I messed. I was thinking a different term. It's a good thing I stopped. Before can resolve any time during a player's phase, before or after any other survivor. Or several survivors manage for them still at the same time choose their turn order. So basically, he is going to at any point be able to stop and be like, okay, instead of it being player 3, 4, 5, 1, or whatever, he's going to be like, it's going to be 3, 1, 5, 2. He can rearrange the play orders, kind of reset, because maybe that might be helpful for the game. Brothers in Arms is always an interesting ability, so as long as he's in the same exact zone as any other survivor, all of them gain the effect of that. So they gain +1 to dice roll. But if he's by himself, he loses the ability altogether. So it's a really good team ability, but it's also, if you like you end up being by yourself, it's basically pointless. But there you can kind of, yeah, it's how you're gonna play the game. It's cool. We got 2 guys that have like kind of like leader abilities, which is really neat. And if we flip him over again, all the rest of his stuff stays the same. But he gets in blue. He gets 1 free guard action. So that's pretty cool too, right? Now he can at the beginning of the game, he can start giving guards additional actions without having to waste his own. So that's pretty fun. Alright, our third character is Rainier, who is our archer. He's one of our archers? Maybe our only archer. I think he's our only archer in this set. Kind of neat. Looks like he's grabbing his arrow out of his quiver, like it's down by his hip for like quick pullback. The little backpacks are always fun. The capes. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Although I do like this pose as well, where he's getting ready to fire an arrow. That's actually a pretty sweet pose in and of itself. But, you know, the other one's not neat as well. So, Ranger just to start, or not to start, just to hold a longbow in their slot instead of armor. Starts with Marksman. Survivor can freely choose the hits of all his magic and ranged attacks. Misses don't hit survivors. So that's kind of cool. So you can just automatically sit back and start firing into a group of his allies without having to worry about it. And you can choose which ones he's going to hit. So you can pick off what he needs to help out his teammates. Like, hey, you can pick runners before brutes or abomination, so you can make sure they don't get them double hits on your guys. Then he has Tactician as well, which you just saw. He also has Point Blank. So he can resolve range and magic actions in his zone, no matter the minimum range. And when resolving at 0 range, he can choose targets free, which he can do with Marksman anyhow. His combat spells, ranged weapons still need to inflict enough damage to kill his targets, and misses don't hit survivors. So that's cool, because now he can get right up in the thick of it if he needs to. He can just sit there and be firing arrows with Marksman, hitting into a group, and if they end up getting close to him, great, whatever, he can just go ahead and do that. and hit him from right there. He doesn't have to worry about switching to a... So you can just give him the best bows instead of having to give him a good melee weapon as well. And then in red, he has +1 damage for ranged. Ooh, that's awesome. And he gets extra. Or a free ranged action. Or Iron Rain. Should definitely get in our ranged character here. Iron Rain is... when resolving range action, survivor may substitute the dice number on the ranged weapon, the number of zombies. He still gains bonuses from plus dice and stuff. So this is really cool, because I mean, if he has a bow that does 2 dice worth of 2 dice he rolls, and there's 5 zombies, he can instead roll 5 dice. And again, combine that, there's other things, he could definitely be a really good force. If you could get around to the second time, have Iron Rain and that plus extra damage, that means if he has like a weak bow that only does 2 damage, all of a sudden now it's doing 3 damage, and he's firing into a crowd of potentially hitting everybody. That's actually pretty sweet. Cool. Then let's look at his other side. So for his guards, he's going to give the guards Iron Rain. Now that's really fun, right? Because that means now if he has ranged guards, they can start go ahead and firing, and then they can get that additional ability. He also gets to use a warbow instead of his regular one. Again, just different equipment for different games. Alright, our fourth guy is Neko Orish. So we got another kind of general guy. He looks a little bit like maybe he was mimicked after Patrick Stewart. Yeah, giant longsword, right? How do you even pull that out of the scabbard? You gotta like pull it up, like grab it halfway down and pull it a second time. I don't know why I'm making hand motions off the camera that you guys can't see. But there, love the little fur collar. Pretty much a wolf pelt, so it's like black or gray instead of your standard, like maybe like think like a gold or a brown. Alright, so he gets to hold a sword. He has Born Leader, so he gets to start with dealing hand stuff out. So you guys, these are really much a little team here. He has Tactician in orange as well as +1 die roll for melee. In red, +1 die for melee, 1 free melee action, or Swordmaster. Swordmaster just lets him use any sword as if they had dual wield. So that's kind of fun. He gets to start out with a good leader ability, gets a little bit possibly more in Tactician if you like to use that. Now again though, if you're playing with, we've had 3 characters now, or 2 characters with Tactician, 3 characters with Tactician potentially. So if you're playing with like these 4 characters so far, you wouldn't necessarily need to give all of them Tactician. You give one of them Tactician, because they could use it at any point to rearrange everything. Once you've rearranged it, I can see very little reason. There might be instances when you might need to rearrange it a second time, but probably not. There could be because maybe like you decided like player 2 and then player 4 is going to act with player 3 going last, and then for some reason player 2 defeated everything. You weren't sure if they were going to, so you had player 4 as being the backup. That might make, oh crap, well instead let player 3 go again, because then they can do something, you know. There might be options like that, but I don't think it's going to hit too often. His White Death side we have for guards, they get range 2 damage. Oh, that is nasty. Giving all their guards a lot more. See, I love this because it's like, that's a really cool effect, but also it's costing you actions, so you have to decide. Does it make sense for you to do that, or to use your actual attack? But starting with something like this, yeah, let them guards shoot and do some range damage ahead of time to help you out while you're gathering items and getting equipment and stuff. So it's kind of neat. It's pretty cool. Alright, then we have Liwing, who's our mage. So we've had a couple of knights, we've had some warriors like the dwarf, or you know, we have a mage and a ranger. Neat little tassels on the bottom of her cloak there for little book bags. I love that they're book shaped too. Instead of just being like big bags. Some on her thighs as well. She's like ready to pull out knowledge. And it's neat that she's casting a fireball. I don't know how on earth I would go about necessarily painting that. It'd probably just be like a giant blurry color. But that's what it is, right? Alright, so she just, she can hold a lightning bolt scroll. She starts with Spellbook. It says all combat spells and enchantments in the survivor's inventory are considered equipped in hand. So this definitely, like, basically just lets her, kind of like we had the archer, who could just, hey, let him do archer stuff. Shoot, 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 shoot. This is going to let her just gather all the spells up of this group. And so far, nobody else has been a mage, so it works perfectly. You give her all the spells, she can just sit there and have them all equipped, use whatever she needs when she needs it. And then she has one free enchantment action, and point blank, she can cast enchantments extra, which is very helpful. And then point blank, now she can cast any of her spells up close and personal. In red, one free magic action, plus one die roll for magic or double casting. So extra, basically boost up your magic if you need to. Double casting is not in this book. I grabbed the Green Horde book. Some of these kind of interesting. They're like, you need to have the base game to play this map or this campaign, and then some of the abilities are only in the other one. They'd probably show up in White Death, though. That I think is what their thought was. Double casting. Every time a survivor performs an enchantment action, they can select an extra target for the same enchantment for free. The first designate both targets and resolve one application after the other in any order. So that's pretty fun. So you can have her either do like attack spells by giving her point blank, or free extra or extra die roll, or you could have her just be the enchanting person and giving like haste, or a healing, or whatever the other enchantments are, and then do double casting so you can hit multiple guys at once and be like a buff class. It's kind of, you can kind of go black mage, white mage, which is really fun. What does she give her guards? She gives her guards the evade ability. Now this is actually not just giving them a bonus skill, this is literally giving them an actual ability. It says, I go look this one up online. This skill may be used whenever a survivor performs a move guard action. The guard ignores zombies in the starting zone when doing the moves. So, that's really fun that it just lets them, move, when the guards move. Now they can get out of the way free, without having to pay the extra movement fee. So that could be very helpful again. And some of these might be good for tactician, right? Just think about it this way: you tactician, you utilize a guard. Oh crap! The zombies got next to him, so you tactize to have Leland go first. She can use move actions, to move the guards out of the way, and then if they're archers, have Rainier uses Iron Rain to take them down because now they're not next to him. So that's definitely an interesting thing. Also, now she has Lightning Bolt. So first time she had Lightning Bolt, and now she has Lightning Bolt. But they have two different pictures, which is very interesting. I wonder one of them might have supposed to have been Lightning Ball, because there is also that one as well. That could be wrong. So that's pretty cool. Alright, our next warrior survivor is Marty. So she kind of looks like our Nordic berserker, or warrior. She's got a big giant shield. Berserker, barbarian. She's dual wielding axes, which is cool. I love that the axes are also different. That's right. She's got her big giant shield that's definitely been worn, beaten down. That's cool. It's also fun to get a strong female character, instead of like our last character. Nothing wrong with it, we just had characters a mage. Sometimes you get them where they're like the sorcerer class or that. It's like, it's fun to get one that's just like, hey, this is a woman that can go out and do some stuff too. Alright, so she has barbarian, or she has barbarian. She can use an axe. But barbarian, lets her, when she resolves a melee action, may distribute any number of dice. So this is like Iron Rain, except it's for a melee weapon. Again, she has an axe, it rolls 2 dice. There's 5 zombies, she can roll 5 dice instead. So getting her in that fray with a bunch of enemies lets her roll a lot more dice. In orange, +1 die roll for melee, or if she rolls a 6, +1 die for combat. I do like its combat, because that way she can also do range if she likes to switch over to ranged attack for some reason. In red, she has +1 combat action. She has battle rage, and she has frenzy melee. That battle rage can be very helpful. And then frenzy for melee says weapons. Melee weapon survivor carries gain 1 die per wound the survivor suffers. Dually melee weapons gain a die for each, total +2 dice per wound per dual melee action. So yeah, get her barbarian. She's gonna go in swinging, rolling a ton of dice. You can give her extra die roll, or if she rolls 6s because she's rolling extra dice, she might get that extra die even more. It should be helpful. And then if you give her frenzy, then as she's taking damage, she's just going to get stronger. Then you just have to make sure you pull her out before she gets defeated. Her light plaid side, she gives the guards tough, which gives them extra little defense, which is really fun. Best thing about these guards so far is obviously when you start getting into the base game, they're probably all going to be different. All these characters all have different guard abilities. Now, when you start getting into the Kickstarter stuff, and there's like 30, 40, 50 extra survivors, like there are in the Kickstarter campaigns, you're going to run across characters that have the same abilities, because there's only X number of different things you can write down. But I do like the fact that there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different characters in this set you can play as, and they all have different guard abilities. It just shows how much you can utilize the guards in different ways. Alright, we got a next character. We're going to go with another female, but we have a lioness. So this is definitely one thing White Death added. Started adding animal-type characters. They hit the north. They found anamorphic characters, which is really a fun concept. Playing a little bit less than just the generic, or like the medieval fantasy, and going into more like other type of fantasy. I don't even know what you would call it, but yeah, she's definitely cool. I like this. She's also like, she's obviously some sort of rogue. She's carrying a big book back there, but she has daggers all over. But I love the fact that she also has all this armor on. They could just have her been like a cloaked warrior, or like, you know, just half naked. She's like, oh, she's an animal character. No, she's wearing clothes like any other person or character would. Which is, I think, a really fun idea. So this is Freya. Also kind of funny. It goes with White Death, you know, Winter North. So she has a dagger. She has Hold Your Nose, which lets her still use once per turn. Gets a free search action in the zone if it eliminated a zombie, even in the vault or a street zone. Basically, if you just defeat a zombie, you can search their corpse for an item. And then in orange, she has Search +1 card, which works really well with that ability, and Charge. Can use the skill for free as often as they please. During each of their turns, moves up to 2 zones into a combat zone containing at least 1 zombie. Normal movements still apply. Entering zone containing zombie ends their movement. That's kind of neat. So you can basically do a yeah, keep doing moves until they basically enter a zone with zombies. Just lets them charge around, gets around the field quicker. Definitely makes sense, because she looks like some sort of, possibly like a cheetah, maybe a panther type character. I'd say lioness, but she's probably more like a cheetah-ish. But yeah, that's really fun, just charging. In red, 1 free melee action, Slippery and Sprint. Slippery lets them leave the zone without having to pay. Excuse me. Does not have to spend any extra actions leaving zones with zombies, so if they can want to leave, they can go ahead and do that. Which is very helpful. And then Sprint uses once during the turns, maybe 1 move action, with the survivor can move 2 or 3 zones instead of 1. So they can spend an additional. To charge, they can move forward, but they have to move into a zone with zombies. Sprint lets them just get an extra 2 or 3 spaces without having to worry about it. So basically, this is a very movement character. So doesn't have a lot of boost to her extra abilities. But the idea should be this character should be maybe running around, picking off like 1 or 2 zombies that are kind of on the outside by themselves, like the smaller groups, but usually probably using her to like, oh, we gotta find this objective, get her to get in and get out to find that objective, versus trying to maybe spend time killing 20 zombies to get into that doorway. Alright, our next hero survivor, ooh, no, we gotta focus there, is Anir, who's another mage. We have a male sorcerer, definitely like a wizard. I love the big staff with like the moon on. It's pretty cool. Watch all the battle posts. He's like, back ye beast. He's got, again, he has books there. Little like canteen or something. That's pretty cool. All right, and where the other the girl, whose name I already forgot, because I'm Liwing, she uses lightning spells. He uses firebolts, which is pretty cool. All right, so then we have he has +1 die for magic attacks. So he's definitely going to do some extra magic damage. In red, +1 free magic action, or Trick Shot. Which Trick Shot, when survivors are equipped with a dual combat spell or ranged weapons, you can aim at different zones for each spell in the same action. So that's really neat. So if you can double up them on the same combat spells or ranged weapons, you can basically shoot in multiple areas with them, but using the extra ability, the extra magic. Or extra dice, I mean. Then he has Frenzy Magic, which like Frenzy for melee. Gives +1 die per each wound suffered, so if he takes extra damage, he gets to do more. Mana Rain and Spellcaster. We've seen Spellcaster just use all his different abilities. And Mana Rain is like Iron Rain, but with magic attacks. So yeah, resolving a magic attack, roll the number of dice per the number of zombies in the area. Alright, then if we flip him over, now he just uses a Disintegrating spell instead. And his guards is Steady Hand. So he gives them the extra ability of Steady Hand, which is... survivor can ignore other survivors if it's chosen when missing for a magic or ranged action. Except for Dragon Fire. So this is kind of cool. So you can basically give the guards better aim or accuracy. It's just really fun. Now, I just realized we did not look at the back of Freya's card to see what her guards were. So we have Hit and Run. So she gives the guards Hit and Run, which it's a really fun ability. So anytime they defeat a zombie, they get a free move action. It's just either one, help them get out of the way of zombies. Hey, there's 5 zombies, they only killed 3. They can use it to get out of the zone for free without having to like spend extra actions. Or if they finish off the last one, they come into an area and there was one left, they take it out, they can go ahead and move to the next one and start attacking right away. Or just move to the next area, start setting them up for a next team a little bit closer to where they're trying to go. Hey, we finished off these guys to get into this building, one step closer to that box. So that's pretty fun. Alright, our next one, we got another knight. We have Otto. Come on. Why won't you focus? Why my camera's such a pain. Alright. Another guy with a big giant sword. It's a cool looking hilt. He's, not an action pose, but he's just all like dramatic standing there. I always like with these guys, it's kind of funny. You watch like fantasy, like barbarian stuff. They always have the swords on their back, but then you watch like more quote unquote realistic like fantasy, with knights and stuff. They always have the swords on their hilts. Like they pull their sword out from the hilt, where like badasses always pull it from their back. I always find it interesting. So I'll start with Taunt, which is one of my favorite abilities. So you can spend an action to select a group of zombies within line of sight of him. They'll perform one free action to attempt to get towards him. So this is a great way to pull zombies away from other survivors. So maybe if they couldn't defeat them by the end of the turn, you can pull them off of them. Or pull them into a trap, pull them closer to your ranged character so they don't have to move. pull them into a dragon fire area, like have dragon fire ready to go, but maybe pull like one group of zombies into another group of zombies so you can just take them all out at once. Just pull them, using this just to lure them away from a doorway you need to get into. Lots of really interesting stuff you can do with those. In orange, +1 die for combat, and is that all you've got? So extra die for just in general combat, so it's kind of all around character. Is that all you've got? Says use the skill anytime a survivor is about to get wounded. Discard 1 equipment in your inventory for each wound to negate a wound. So basically you can just chuck off his armor to keep him alive. In red, 1 free combat action, Bloodlust melee and Reaper melee. Ooh, so he got some really good melee abilities at the end. Reaper says, whenever you defeat a zombie of any type, defeat a free zombie of these same types. So you kill a walker, defeat an extra walker. You kill a runner, kill an extra runner. You kill 3 runners, you still only get 1 runner extra, but the fact is you get 1 extra guy can be very helpful, because then maybe you did roll kind of bad, but enough to take out 1 guy, you get at least a 2nd guy out of it. Bloodlust melee is spend 1 action with the survivor. He moves up to 2 zones containing at least 1 zombie, gains a free melee action. So it lets him spend an action to combine his move and attack at the same time, but he has to move into a zone with zombies. So if he's 4 spaces away, he can have to use a move, and then you have to use a 2nd move to get into the space with zombies. But with this, if he was 4 spaces away, he could use 1 to move 2 spaces closer, move Bloodlust to move a 2nd space, and then get that free attack. So then he'd be in the zone, he'd have that 3rd action to do an attack right away, so he'd do a 2nd attack. So pretty fun there. If we flip him over, he gets Guards Push. Just gives all the guards the ability to push, which means they can spend that action to push any zombies in their zone into an adjacent zone away from them. So kind of like a mild, sort of like taunt, because you can kind of maneuver where guys are again. Push a bunch of zombies into another zone, push them out of the zone so you can stay alive. Maybe even just push them back to where it might help line them up for somebody else. You have a bunch of zombies are right here. You can push them into the zone of the melee guy that was coming behind them that just couldn't get to him quite yet. Then at the beginning of their turn, they get a bunch of extra actions. Or have the guards push him into him, and then you can use Reaper melee better. Some interesting stuff there. So now we get a really cool thing they've done, which I don't believe, not that I recall, any Zombicide doing this before. We actually, other than the ultimate versions, which were supposed to be the core set later on, as they became veteran, we haven't any other character had a duplicate version of themselves that I recall. But we are getting Auto Armored. So we're getting the same character, but now he has his full suit of armor on. So I don't know if it's supposed to be, this should be the first one. He starts with his full suit, and then he's using, is that all you've got, to essentially discard all his armor down into his other form. Or if it's later on, maybe in the book, in the story, he finds a sacred armor as he goes along and picks it up. Or he starts off without it and then he picks it up before they go to battle. But that's kind of cool. Now, there's nothing technically in the rules or anything that says you can't play as both of these characters at the same time. So you could technically have Auto and Auto Armored at the same time. That's up to you if you decide to play that way. But he starts with Ironhide, which is a transformer ability. It says he can make armor rolls with 5+ armor value, even when he's not wearing armor in his body slot. Wearing armor, survivor has 1 good result for each armor roll. The maximum is always 6. So basically, just to start off with a free armor defense roll. In orange, 1 free melee action and tough, which means he ignores 1 damage. And then in red, he has Ironclad Brute. Ironclad Brute means he does not take damage from brutes. So he can walk up and stand in the same zone as them, draw their attention, and they'll just keep attacking him and never do damage. They'll never have a reason to leave the area. So he can just keep whacking them until he defeats them. He can shove, which is basically... it's kind of weird that they changed some of the names for some of the guard abilities. Because shove is basically the same as push for the guards. Um, yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting that they didn't just call push the same as shove. But yeah, it lets him shove zombies from his zone into another zone. And then super strength makes all his base attacks do 3 damage. Um, so again, this could be really helpful. If he gets in there, he can already avoid damage. With his iron hide, he can, with tough, he can take extra damage. And then if you have a lot of brutes on the field by the time you get to red, go ironclad brute. He can draw them, just take them on until he can deal with them. If you have some weaker enemies or just a few guys, you don't have a ton of brutes, maybe go super strength. You can just be wailing guys out left and right. Or maybe you can take out some abominations a little bit quicker because you can do extra damage. Very cool. If we flip him over, he gives guards evade. Which might be the only one that is duplicate. I did say there was no duplicates. I did lie. That would be the only one I think they duplicated. But actually, he just lets the guards be able to move a little bit quicker. I don't know if there's really a canonical reason for that. But that's interesting. Alright. We got Locus. Our little, like, kind of like square looking, like, you know, definitely a protagonist. You know, he's like the guy, if like this is the entire group of fighters, this guy definitely screams to me like he's probably like, he's the main character in the anime. He's coming out like he's got something to prove. It's either that or he's the, because he does look like that. He looks like the villager that got drugged into the battle. He can hold a sword. Now I didn't notice he has something very unique about him. He has a blue skill of Lucky. He has his yellow skill +1 action, and then he has a single orange skill with no red. It says, let me read Lucky first. Lucky is just, he just can reroll all his dice. Can reroll once all the dice for each action or armor roll he takes, resulting just takes place in it. So basically, can help him survive. But it says when Locus reaches the orange danger level, transform him into Locus Werewolf. This is a mechanic that I definitely know, I'm almost positive is not been anything. It's transforming from one character. So we get Otto, who's technically a different miniature. He has different abilities. This guy literally transforms, which is really cool. It should have more things like that. So we're going to flip him over quick with his other side. So if you start with that, he just gives Lucky to the guards instead. And then he gets to flip over to his werewolf form. So there's his werewolf form. It's very interesting because you have to get him up to orange before you get to use it. But then he becomes a werewolf. And this is definitely like, yeah, is this your protagonist? He's like, I am cursed with a werewolf form. I am a monster, but I will work with you guys. So that's pretty cool. And other, I don't believe there's any reason why you couldn't just start with the werewolf form if you would choose. Again, there's no rules. Nothing in the rules I ever saw that said anything. So he has Bloodlust melee. In orange, he has 1 free melee action and Frenzy melee. In red, he has Regeneration, Sprint, and Super Strength. So we've seen Sprint, we've seen Super Strength. Regeneration, this means at the end of each round, game round, he goes back up to full health. Now, it's also interesting to note is that, so he starts with Lucky and gets his 1 action, and then when he turns orange, he'll automatically have Bloodlust, and he'll be in his orange, so he gets to pick one of them. So he doesn't have to restart over. If we flip him over, he still has a sword, but now he gets guards get melee damage +2. Or not +2, melee damage 2, so basically makes all guards immediately stronger because they get to do extra damage right off the bat, which will help them take out some of the heftier guys. Alright, so that is all of our survivors. So we're going to jump into... I'm going to jump into our first abomination, which is a very interesting one. So this is the Marty abomination. So we had one guy with 2 different forms of armored, and not. We had a werewolf that transforms, and then now we have our badass Viking woman, Marty, who at some point in the storyline just turned into a zombie. But at least she's an abomination, so she is horrifically gonna take over. She grows in height and grotesquely, that big giant arm, huge tongue. Boots ripping out, so like, yeah, just even a little comparison there. Now, obviously, it looks like there's probably some size proportion questions there, like, you know, like maybe her outfit's a little bit bigger than it should be, like, you know, but, you know, that's not that big of a deal. But yeah, it does make her an imposing thing. But yeah, I don't know the circumstances behind it. I'm assuming the comic book probably explains it. Yeah, just an abomination. That's cards number 413, 14, 15, and 16. You get 4 of those. And then going backwards from that, we're actually going to get 9, 10, 11, and 12, which is Lord Janus. So he is our other abomination. So that was interesting, though, is these guys, as opposed to some of the modern ones, they don't gain any special abilities for being abominations. I like the ones that have, like, the special card that says, oh, they have this extra special effect or that. He's just comes in, just a harder to kill human guy? Not really sure, because, again, story, comic book might explain a little bit more backstory for that. But that doesn't really tell us too much. Then the last set we have is our Necromancer. Aring. So normal Necromancer rules, except he has, at the end of the zombie phase, place 1 walker in Aring zone. So he gets to summon extra things, with them glowing skulls. Pretty cool. That's a neat way to do that, with the skulls kind of floating on his hands. It's definitely a little pentagram book there. Neat little tassels, good design on his outfit. Yeah, so we have an extra Necromancer to play as. And then this is going to be cards. 403, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So it's cards 304 up through 316 if you're keeping track of those for that. So the last Zombicide thing we have in here are the new backs for White Death. So the way these play is they just all get shuffled into the regular Zombies deck with all your Walker, your Runner, your other spawn cards. And if you pull Aaron, you summon Aaron. Then what the new ones do, because now the White Death is adopting a little bit more of the Zombicide 2.0 rule book. So what that does is instead you just have a Abomination card or a Necromancer card in the deck, or several of them. You have 6 of those instead of 6 of these, 6 of these, 4 of these. So if you summon, you get an Abomination card. Now you just go to your Abomination deck, you shuffle the entire deck, and you randomly draw one of the Abominations. But now they gain the extra abilities that I love. And then the Necromancer, same thing. If you find a Polka card that says summon Necromancer, you can take all your Necromancers you have from all the Black Plague series and add them in there. Now, the thing is, you might be like, well, okay, but if I don't own White Death and I only own the other games, well, if you don't own White Death, you're not going to have the cards to summon them. But if you purchase White Death during the Kickstarter, I'm not sure how they're going to implement this eventually for everybody else. Maybe they won't. But I think there's a pack that's coming with that for all the previous games. And when I get to Kickstarter, we'll definitely go over that a little bit more. But yeah, so you're going to get a thing, so you should be able to take all the previous Necromancers and Abominations and add them into White Death seamlessly. So let's look at their special abilities on here. So now they're no longer numbered, because we only have one version of each card. So Aaron has, at the end of the zombie phase, spawn 1 Walker in Aaron's zone, which she already had. But now Lord Janus gets an ability. It says, when Lord Janus spawns, move the survivors with the highest AP into his zone. Ooh, so he's going to just like will the first person to come attack him. And then Mark the Abomination says, gain 1 additional action for each survivor in line of sight when it activates. So she becomes frenzied when she can see more guys. So yeah, you're gonna like stay out of her line of sight, probably attack her from a distance. Otherwise, yeah, you're gonna end up with some issues there. Cool. So that is what we have for the comic book extra stuff for Black Plague, White Death stuff. Now we want to look at the Massive Darkness 2 crossover. So yeah, if you own Massive Darkness 2, it's really fun. They made various things. You can bring almost every single character and most of the monsters into Massive Darkness 2 for a really fun crossover. To have these guys, and plus some of these guys are fitting really well with like the werewolves or Freya, and just plus having some more bad guys is always really fun. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at what all these guys do. So Nico Orash becomes the monk class. So he has pay 1 mana. You or another hero in your zone gain 1 reroll token. If you're in the shadow, you may discard 1 non-meditation chakra and apply its bonus based on its type. Agility, ignore all black dice, guidance +2, mana, and heal 2, or combat +3. Ooh, that's pretty fun. So yeah, you can gain kind of whatever little ability you need. We have Cord, who's our paladin. So he's Cord is in a concentrated zone, attacks, gains +1 attack. In a shadow, plays a concentrated token in available zone of your tile. Then kill 1 minion in that zone, if any. Nice, so you can pull that, put a concentrated zone where you're at, and then you gain a bonus for it. Draka is our berserker, of course. Pay 3 rage. Choosing another hero to immediately perform 1 free action. If you have Shadow, gain 1 rage and ignore 1 defense die. Nice. Oh yeah, it kind of works with his ability where I got Tactician at the end. Kind of works with that as well. Marty's our other berserker. Attacks, she takes 1 wound. Gets +1 yellow die. Shadow, if you have 2 or less health after combat, immediately perform 1 free action, otherwise gain 2 rage. But yeah, I like how some of these tie into their Zombicide versions as well. She gained bonuses for having less health. Lewin, who's our shaman. Attack 1 mana. Increase any element by 2. Choosing ability with an element cost increases elements corresponding to its cost. Neat. So you get up your stuff. Freya, who's our rogue. Move 1, pay a mana. Pick all treasure tokens. Pick up all treasure tokens from 1 enemy in your space, and then Shadow, +2 combat. If the enemy does not have any treasure tokens, +4 instead. That's kind of neat. Just steal them without having to worry about killing them. Rainier's our ranger. If you get a perfect, +2 attacking, ignore all damage. Apply the perfect to 1 effect from your discard arrows. If none, apply your perfect. Neat. NR is our wizard. Take a wound, rotate the marker once. Shadow, gain 3 mana and heal 3. That's kind of cool, right? Again, you can kind of pay to like gain whatever ability he needs. Then he can also eventually heal. Then we have Otto, who says action. Kill 1 minion in any concentrated zone. Pay 1 mana, switch to armored Otto. And then Shadow. Kill 1 defending minions. This kind of needs a paladin. He gets to kill minions really quick, but I love that he gets to flip over. And he has defense 2. 2 shields against roaming monsters, and pay 1 to switch back. And he gets +4 against roaming monsters. So it's kind of neat. Like, this is a neat little effect. It's like, right, you're taking on the bigger guys. Give him switch to armored mode. And then he gets extra defense or extra attack. But if there's not, like, or maybe early on, switch over to his paladin side, his regular side, where he gets to defeat minions. And he just stay a paladin. He stays a paladin. He has to, I think, so otherwise he'd mess with everything else. But that's a really neat mechanic there. And then, of course, we have Locus, who's our monk. If you have an active combat chakra, switch to Werewolf Locus. Now, this doesn't sound like it's optional. The other one you had to pay. It says move 1 and gain 1 MP. Shadow, gain 1 magic, and gain 1 attack token, 1 defense token, and 1 reroll token. So we're forced to flip to our werewolf. It says if you don't have an active combat chakra, flip him back. So attack gains +1 attack, defense, ignore a wound. Shadow is deal 3 wound to the defender. So this is a little bit interesting because the auto you can kind of choose what you want. This one you sort of can if you have Act or Chakra, if not, which you can eventually get rid of them. But it's not as easy to just choose to do that. So you have to plan a little bit more. That's still definitely cool. Another thing just to note for this is all of these are from the base set. They don't have any of the expansion classes, which is... I'm not going to say whether any of these characters would necessarily need to be part of them, like the Bard or Tinkerer. Might not have made any sense for any of these characters specifically, but it's also kind of that downside of, like, you know, if I get it, since if you buy this, you can just buy the base game. You don't have, they try to make it so you don't have to own all of the stuff, and you can play lots of these crossover things. But it's also the fact is, to me, it's like it'd be cool to like make them expansions a little bit better by giving some of them. I wish they would have done what they did with some of the other crossovers, where they had a dual side. One side was the base game, and then you flip it over. Some of them were the expansions because it made sense. Like, okay, this character makes sense to be a bard, but if you don't own the bard expansion, you can't play it. We made him also a warrior instead, and that would have been pretty cool. Alright, then we have our roaming monsters. So, of course, we're going to have multiple levels of each of these. Let me back my camera up a bit. So, we have Lord Janus. Says, if there's a roaming monster, summoned by Lord Janus on the board, activate that roaming monster. Otherwise, summon a roaming monster in Lord Janus' zone. This roaming monster doesn't activate this round. Place it next to Lord Janus' card. Then Lord Janus moves 3 zones towards the closest hero and attacks them if possible. Defense, 2 claws. If Lord Janus' roaming monsters on the board, it takes the wounds from this attack instead. That's kind of crazy. So, yeah, he keeps summoning more roaming monsters. So if you don't take care of him very quickly, he's going to be a pain. Plus, he's going to keep attacking you and shifting the damage up. So if we look at his next level, he's going to get some harder dice, some better defense, better health. That stuff always goes up. But I don't think any of the other stuff changes. 2 defense, that. His next one, he's level 5, so if you're just playing core game, he goes up to 7 health, gets 3 treasure. Extra blue and black, extra blue die, extra orange die. But the rest of his stuff stays the same. If you're playing with the campaign, we can jump up into level 6 and 7. If they lose their treasure icon, and now he has 8 health, and a bunch more dice. We can go up to 8 and 9, 10 health per player, gains that green die, which is great, but his other stuff hasn't changed at all. And then, finally, if we hit level 10, 12 health per, he has 3 of each defense dice, and a lot of, attack dice. Cool. So that is Lord Janus. Then we have Aaron, who has 12 hit points. So, we jumped to the... Let's start with the simple one first. We'll start with level 1. So 4 health per hero, 1 of each type of dice there. When a miniature dies on the same tile as Aaron, place a mana on Aaron's card. If there's a hero in the magic range, discard all mana from Aaron, and she... Oh, I didn't even realize it was a female. I mean, Aaron makes sense, but doesn't really look like a female. Interesting. Anyhow, discard all mana from Aaron, and she attacks the closest hero with the attack for each discarded mana. Otherwise, Aaron moves 3 zones towards the closest hero and spobs a mob in their zone. Defense 1, place 1 mana on there. Interesting. So basically, they're going to potentially keep trying to gain mana and be trying to store up mana to do an extra powerful attack against them. Otherwise, they're going to just move and spawn more zombies or spawn mobs. It's kind of cool. The other guy spawns roaming. He just spawns mobs. Alright, so all just the numbers are going to go up. +1, +3. I don't think anything's really going to change on that. I think we're just going to get higher numbers. Just kind of look at each one of them quick. Move 3 zones, get 1 extra mana. Sometimes that stuff changes. Usually it doesn't. There's that one. And then the level 10. Alright, then our final character for this is our last roaming monster, which is Marquee Abomination. Has 5 health per player. If there are any heroes in line of sight, Marquee Abomination performs actions like a mob. The number of actions is equal to the number of heroes in line of sight. Cool. Again, I love that they kind of mimic their Zombicide versions. Otherwise, Marquee Abomination moves 2 zones towards the closest hero. So either they're going to move closer to you, or if this season they're going to gain a bunch of extra actions. And then down here, attack is +1 for every black die you get, or every claw you get. Up there, it's going to go up in health. And I don't think any of their other stats are going to change, so we just kind of flip through them kind of quick. Oh, yep, so now we're up to 2 attack on the bottom down there, so that did change a little bit. And then we end up with that, and we get, this one goes up to +3 on the bottom. And if you go all the way up to level 10, they have +4. Cool, so yeah, so 3 more roaming monsters with various levels. 10 more survivors for both games, or heroes for that. It's pretty fun. And then when we get White Death, these guys will be fun to be able to just add right into that with the guard abilities. And then the fact is we also have more Massive Darkness 2 crossover with that as well, so that'll be pretty fun there. We're getting some more content. Alright, that's what we have for the Zombicide Black Plague comic book extras. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit me up in the comments if you have questions, comments, want to see something. See you later. Bye.